This is one of the worst modern engines. It is blowing up constantly. And the crazy thing is, it's Japanese. That's just wrong. In the past, I've covered the disastrous Ford EcoBoost, the gungy BMW M47, and most recently, the nightmarish Land Rover Ingenium. But today is all about this. Could this be the most unreliable Japanese engine ever built? Tombo and I have come to Automotive in Cranwell in Lincolnshire to spend the day with Owen, a man that has been in the trenches with these engine failures over the last few years. So what engine is causing all of this trouble? It's this, the 2.2 Skyactiv Diesel. It's a 4-cylinder, 2.2 litre, twin-turbo diesel engine made by Mazda from 2012 onwards. And it can be found in 150 to 172 horsepower form in the pre-AdBlue form of the engine. In terms of the cars it can be found in, it's the Mazda 3, the 6 and the CX-5 here in the UK. Now, Mazda's Skyactiv engines have been a bit of a game changer for the brand, with some people arguing that some of the engines in the range, especially the petrols, are the best in the business. The Skyactiv petrol engines are unique thanks to being the first production car engines to use HCCI, homogeneous charge compression ignition, where the air-fuel mixture is spontaneously ignited by a mini separate charge of ignited fuel, which allows them to run much leaner than a normal petrol engine, thus reducing fuel consumption and emissions. The focus of today's video, the Skyactiv D, is unique in its own way thanks to an industry-low compression ratio of 14:1. Most diesels operate between 16 and 18:1 using high cylinder temperatures and pressures to effectively ignite the diesel. By Mazda accomplishing a 14:1 compression ratio with this thing, that means that cylinder pressures are lower, cylinder temperatures are lower, and that means all of the componentry doesn't need to be as bulky as other diesels. That means the components can be lighter, which means the entire engine can be lighter, and it'll make a hell of a lot less noise versus a clackety Volkswagen diesel. That 14:1 compression ratio would normally have normal diesels having startup issues and running a bit cold. But Mazda has got around that by having super high pressure injectors which have fast and precise injection to nail ignition. There's also an EGR system that recycles exhaust gases and pumps it into the combustion chamber to increase engine air temperature. And the exhaust cam also has variable valve timing on it, so that the exhaust valves slightly open during the intake stroke, again increasing engine air temperature. This all sounds great, but recently this diesel engine has been causing Mazda owners some serious issues. Owen Thompson is the main man at Automotive, and his CV makes him the ideal man to take us to what happens with these disastrous diesels. Owen, just how many of these Skyactiv diesels do you get through in a month? How many are you fixing?
I end up with about 14 a month. I can break that down to two categories. I've got the really bad ones that require usually major engine work, so head off valves, potentially chains, potentially oil pumps.
Yep.
And at that point there's about 4 of those. The major work for me involves injectors, and usually I get through around 10 of those a month.
That is absolutely mad. And you've saved this one for me.
Yeah.
You told me this could be especially bad, but
yeah,
without spoiling what we're going to find, what were the symptoms when this engine came to you?
So this engine's out of a Mazda 6, to give you a bit of backstory.
Cool.
They came to me and they said, right, I've got an oil light on the dash. It was bright red, and we know bright red oil lights are a bad thing.
Okay.
Oil pressure was down, that was the main symptom, and there was the most phenomenal knocking coming from the engine.
Okay, well, let's get stripping this thing down and discover what's gone wrong with it. My hands are already dirty. May I have some gloves?
Yes, of course.
Let's crack on.
One of those.
Starting with some brackets up top, it wasn't long before we could remove the intake manifold and immediately start uncovering issues. Yeah. We do have our first clue as to how crappy this engine is. If you can get the light right, have a look in there. That's not a gasket or sealant around the ports, that is a thick crust of carbonized sludge. More on that later. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Can you see that lump? I've never seen anything like that. That's unreal.
That is the song of the Mazda diesel right there.
what I find mad is I thought it would all be sludgy, but that is actually rock solid. And then these bits, you can kind of get your nail into there and it will start to sludge off for you. But that is like fossilized carbon. I've never seen anything like that. Well, that just, okay, there we go.
Straight away.
Wow. Mazda, you've made a mess of this, I'm afraid. So again, we've got a combination of, like, you can actually see it's like matted sludge along here. Yuck! Look at it at the end here. Oh, it's crumbly.
It's carbon.
That started to fossilize like that big lump. Peering down into the cams, it was clear that this engine had gone past the point of Black Death and had started to become something from a geology field trip. It was then time to remove the front chest, where an all too common scourge of modern engines was uncovered.
So for that, you're going to need, like that, and just give it a tug. It should come straight through. There you go. That's it. And you should be able to just give it a good pull. Unless you've missed any, which you haven't. Oh well, we have missed one. There's an 8mm there.
Oh.
That's my fault, it's not on you. Sorry, mate.
Flashbacks to Subaru.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, that's not good. That should be completely taut, right? But also this little chain around the back here, that's a sneaky big failure point.
Massive failure point. That is probably the single most catastrophic failure point on this engine.
And that's driving the oil pump.
That's driving the oil pump. So everything else on this engine you can sort. You can sort the turbos by putting the updated turbos on. You can sort the carbon buildup with walnut blasting. You can stop what's happened with this engine.
But this is death to the engine.
Yeah, 80 to 130k. CX-5s are particularly bad.
Right.
Because obviously they're as aerodynamic as a brick and the engine's under more mechanical stress. Oh, Mike. Yeah, give it some.
God damn.
Yeah, it's tight, isn't it? That right there. That is why there's so much top end wear. Why do you think there's a line of carbon there?
Should that be an oil passage?
Exactly. If you look in there,
completely clogged.
Look at that.
Oh wow.
This is what we're after.
Oh!
Look at that. All of that sludge.
Will that have just stopped working, that rocker?
Yeah, so that rocker will be jammed shut.
This is comfortably the most worn down camshaft I have ever seen. If you look at these sections here, that inner material should be flush with the outer material either side, but it's completely carved through it. It's completely eroded through the cam lobe. And you actually have to be quite careful because it's sharp. The edges that have been left are razor sharp. But look how much cam lobe material has been eroded out of the way, just disappeared. And where does that go? Into your sump eventually. That is the worst camshaft I have ever seen. Look at the one this end. Look at that. That's horrendous. Find out what happens later in the video. Owen's obsessed with how many gloves I'm going to use today. It's only because I want to eat some mini eggs. You know, is that so much of a punishment? Mini eggs and some ready salted crisps, that's it. With the state of this thing. He says I'm going to go through 12 pairs. Hey. There you go. With the cylinder head now removed, this Mazda engine was only getting worse.
You see the scoring on the cylinder here.
Right, so there shouldn't be any lines.
It should just be cross. It should be cross-hatching, nothing else.
So the cylinders were goosed too. It was time to flip the block and see what the bottom end had to say for itself. Just loosening off these sump bolts. It honks. This absolutely stinks.
Do you want to do the honours? There we go. And a nice little toe should come through. Beautiful.
Oh, I was going to say this didn't look that bad, but my God, the pickup. That is gummed.
It's horrendous.
My God.
Yeah.
There's not much oil getting through that.
No, there'll be no oil getting through that.
Yuck.
Look at that. Completely gone at the top there.
We are discovering more and more with this engine, but we happen to be stripping it down on the sunniest day in the UK of the year so far. So I think we need to rehydrate, but first of all, let's get these off. Holy are sponsoring today's video, and they've got some brand new exciting flavours for me to taste. For me, passion fruit is currently the GOAT, but these could be vying for the title. We've got blue raspberry hydration and cola koala energy. I'm obsessed with raspberry Jaffa cakes right now, so let's try this one. Holy is a great alternative to all those nasty sugar-filled energy drinks. Tombo, genuinely, when was the last time you saw me with an old school energy drink in my hand?
Not for a very long time.
We were at a petrol station yesterday and I could have got one, but I didn't because I knew
Sticking with the holy.
we had this in the bag. Right, let's give it a taste. Blue raspberry. Whoa! She's excited. Oh, that's so tasty. I love the Holy hydrations, electrolytes, all the good stuff. That could be challenging passion fruit.
Holy has a deal going where you'll get a free 10 box of either Cola Koala Energy or Blue Raspberry Hydration with every starter pack deluxe, which in itself has a selection of Holy Energy, Hydration, iced tea and milkshake for you to try out and find your favourite, as well as a cool shaker bottle.
This engine is going to be apart in minutes now. Hear that, Owen? 5 minutes down to its component parts. Use my discount code Fernie5 to get £5 off your first order, or my discount code Fernie to get 10% off any order after that. This has been really good. It's going to hydrate me for the rest of the day. Let's get that engine into its component parts.
Continuing with the bottom end, off came the crank girdle to reveal the crankshaft and bearings.
Yeah, that's scored AF.
Yeah, that'll need a crank.
Owen, we've got the bottom end apart. It's not looking great.
No.
Tell us what we're looking at. Starting with these bearings. They look quite badly scored.
Yeah, so we've got some heavy scoring on both the big end bearings and the crank main bearings. If
Sure.
you combine carbon in the oil, sludgy oil that is way thicker than that oil pump is ever designed to handle, you end up with bearings that look like this. This engine is a complete write-off.
Okay, so that you wouldn't even approach trying to redo the crank, machine it, and rebuild this engine. It's completely gone.
No, this crank's completely gone.
You found me the perfect engine then.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're like, I think I've got a bad one. We've got a bad one.
We've got a really bad one. The only thing I could have gotten worse is a snapped oil pump chain.
Yes, and we didn't have any head gasket failure.
Didn't have any head gasket failure, which is
Gutted.
really rare at
We
this
nearly
mileage.
had the royal
I know.
flush of Mazda.
I know.
Shitstorm.
We quickly whipped the rest of the engine fully apart so we could start our post-mortem.
Let's start with the carbon buildup on the intake manifold. We can put this blame on the EGR and PCV systems. This Mazda diesel uses an EGR system, or exhaust gas recirculation, to recycle exhaust gases up into the combustion chamber to help reduce nasty NOx formation. That all sounds great, but that exhaust gas is quite sooty. Then comes the PCV valve, positive crankcase ventilation. That is a system that pumps a small amount of oil back into the combustion chamber. When that small amount of oil meets with that nasty sooty air, you end up with blank gunk like this. Add in heat and you then end up with the rock solid crust that you've got around these ports here. Not good at all. If this engine was port injection, that would help clean up some of its bits, but it is direct injection. That means, especially when you've got a bit of crossover between exhaust and intake valves both being open, the only thing ending up back upstream in your intake manifold is this nasty sludge. Just look at it there. That is absolutely hellish. And just like Land Rover's Ingeniums, this engine also really doesn't like short, sharp trips, because the engine simply doesn't get hot enough to again burn away some of this nasty carbonisation, and it clogs up, as you can see, by everything on this table. The solution? Well, you find someone like Owen who can decarbonise the intake of your engine. That will mean both EGRs have to come off, the EGR cooler and your intake manifold, and he will clean all of this up, and in worst cases, when it's really hard stuck on, you will need walnut blasting to get it clean. Depending on how long you've left it between services and giving your engine a bit of a spruce, it could be anywhere between £300 and £900. Next up, oil pump chain failure. Now, this happens because of a blight that affects so many modern engines, and that is cheap chain guides. Now, these guides hold the chain in place, and they're held in place by tensioners, but they're made of such crappy material, and they suffer from some of the oil starvation that eventually builds up in these engines, that they end up wearing right down to the metal, like we've seen on this engine today. That means that the amount of friction that the oil pump chain is experiencing goes through the roof, and in extreme cases it can snap. That means there is nothing driving your oil pump, which means your engine is going to be immediately oil starved. You've probably got about half a second to switch off your engine before you have extreme engine failure. As we've seen on our engine today, that can lead to bore score, and it normally starts at the bottom end with the rod bearings and the crank. Oil pump chain failure either means a complete engine rebuild or getting a brand new engine subbed in. There is a solution. Revised and upgraded guides do exist that are made of a stronger nylon. They were implemented on these cars from 2017 onwards. If you have a pre-2017 car and you're anywhere near 100,000 miles, get your guides changed. Give Owen a phone. Believe it or not, failed injector seals can blow up these engines. Back in the day, the original 2.2s had really poor quality, cheap copper injector seals that fail around 70,000 miles, not helped by a really badly designed injector bracket. They fail at around 70,000 miles, and if you don't get them preventatively changed, exhaust gases then end up seeping into your rocker cover. That then starts to carbonise the oil around the exhaust camshaft, what we've discovered today. That then starts to wear down the camshafts themselves because it's lacking lubrication. As I've said, this is one of the worst camshafts I have ever seen. The amount of wear going on is crazy. Then the bits from that camshaft and bits of carbonised oil then end up seeping down into the sump of the engine. That then blocks your pickup, which means your engine is starved of oil, and the first thing to go in that case is the bottom end, hence the issues with the crank and the rod bearings that we've seen today. Better quality injector seals do exist, but if your exhaust cam has worn down, you're going to have to get your entire valve train all changed over, but there is an upgraded exhaust cam. This is a crazy list of failure points. I didn't think it was possible, but I think we might have found a worse diesel engine than the Land Rover Ingenium. Owen, for all those people out there that have 2.2 diesel Mazdas out there, what can you do to avoid any of this? What preventative stuff can you do?
So the major two things I would say to people that are the most cost reasonable are walnut blast the intake manifold before 80,000 miles. I normally recommend every 60,000. The second thing I recommend is immediately do the injector seals, regardless of the mileage on the engine, because at the end of that, as soon as you're going over 60,000 miles, you're very much chancing it with those injector seals.
And what has Mazda said about this 2.2? Is there any ownership being taken by them?
So for the first 2 years there was. So to give you some idea, my dad bought a Mazda 3 in 2018, which was an 18 plate. That immediately had all the recalls done at the point at which he bought the car.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately for a lot of the older vehicles, only the vehicles that were in fleets or company owned did actually have those upgrades done. Most of the vehicles that we see on the roads, be they leased or be they privately owned, didn't have that work done.
Okay, but
so
the parts do exist though?
Yes, the parts exist. Unfortunately, it's mostly down to the customer to pay for it.
Right, okay. So the couple of recent modern engines I've stripped apart was with you today, this Mazda 2.2, and the Land Rover Ingenium. You've had a bit of experience with Land Rovers as well.
Yeah.
What would you say is the worst modern diesel out of those two?
I would actually say the Ingenium. The reason being is, as someone who, as you can tell, I work on the driveway, I can't do an ingenium on the driveway. The timing chain is on the gearbox side. You need a lift, you need specialised tools, you need specialised locking tools.
It's also got balance shafts.
Exactly. This does have a balance cartridge, but it comes off with the oil pump, and it's fairly easy to split the oil pump and take everything off. As long as you've got it in time, it's very straightforward to do.
Okay, you're a Mazda fanboy, I get it. It's all good, it's all good. So in the pantheon of 2.2 engine failures, where does this sit? Is this one of the worst you've seen? Is it the worst you've seen?
I'd say it's number 2.
Oh wow, okay, so
yeah,
it's right
it's
up
very
there.
far up there. The
Okay.
worst one I've seen, unfortunately I don't have any pictures for the video, is one I saw about 6 months ago where it holed the block because the owner drove it for about, I kid you not, 8 months with low oil pressure, and the bottom end just completely let go.
So his engine light was probably on for God knows how long. That little red lamp, he's just like, oh, whatever that is, you know.
fine. Yeah, exactly.
Low coolant or something. It's all good.
Exactly.
Madness. Okay, well, thank you for showing us through this engine today. It's been very enlightening. Another disaster of a modern diesel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Diesel engines from the 2010s have proven to be a terrible group of powertrains. By striving to hit really strict emissions regulations and combining that with cheap componentry, most diesels from the previous decade have been engineering disasters. Moral of the story, get a 1.9 PD. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content like this. What's for you won't go by you. I'll see you in the next one.